In this video, I've combined the 4 videos about all of my Amazon camping gear from 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 100, and $100 to $500. And this is gear that we actually use on our camping trips. We might use some of it for different trips, but let's get started and go check out the gear. But one of the first things that we have purchased that actually gets used a lot is an egg holder. When I first purchased this, I thought, well, it's kind of a waste of money. So it's not too much. I mean, I paid about $5 for this. But it's actually very, very useful. We haven't had any broken eggs, and we used to just throw eggs in the carton into the cooler, and we didn't have too many issues, but the egg carton would get all soggy and sometimes they would break. But honestly, I haven't had any eggs break in here, and this does hold 12 eggs. I know they have sets that hold 6 eggs, and it folds up even smaller than the cardboard egg package when you just put it into your cooler. So we usually have it on the side. It's not too big of a deal, or if you lay it flat and you put stuff on it, it's not gonna break it. So this is actually something, it's not gonna cost you a lot of money, and it feels kind of gimmicky, but we have found it to be very useful. So we're gonna stay in the cooking theme to start, and number 2 is a toaster that you put on your gas stove. And this thing is also one of those, like, should I buy it? Will it work? And we picked one up in 2020, and now basically I buy a new one every year. I've already bought a new one for this year because these don't cost too much. I have to buy a new one every year because they get used so much. They do tend to warp after a while. You know, they're not the highest quality. You can pick these up also for about $5. Lay it on your stove and you'll put your bread or your bagels or anything that you want to toast on it, and it works really, really well. It works the best on a gas stove, so if you have like a Coleman gas stove or anything like that. And as you can see, we've used it a lot. This is from last summer. This is my new one for this summer. Different brands, but they're basically the same thing. So you kind of just find the cheapest one that works for you. And this is something that I highly recommend because we use it quite a bit. So number 3 and 4 on my list are camping utensils. In this price range, you're looking at plastic utensils. This first one is by Uco. I think that's how you pronounce it. And this is the eco version, so it's made out of recycled polypropylene. This is the same material that my GSI camping plates are made of. This is a food safe material, and it is BPA free and phthalate free. A spoon on one end, and it has the fork on the other. They have another version. The other version is made from BPA and phthalate free high strength reinforced glass nylon, and they have put some holes in here to make them a little bit lighter, but they're not heavy. And at this price range, I'm not really worried about how much stuff weighs, but these are pretty strong. This is the eco version. The other version, you can buy about 4 of them for about $10, so they're not a bad deal. And number 4 is the Light My Fire Spork. It's kind of the same thing. It's got a little bit more of a curve to it. This one's a little bit flatter, but it has the fork on one end and the spoon on the other end with the serrated edge. This one is made in Sweden, the other is made in China, so you're still importing both of these. This is also BPA free. As I've said, I've used this one quite a bit, so I've kind of melted off the edges on the end, as you can see here. But these spoons are a good deal. You can buy a 2-pack of these for about $8. 5 on my list is some Marshmallow Sticks. You can buy a 4-pack of these for about $10, and it's nice that they have a color-coded end, just, you know, because kids like to argue over things. But it's just kind of nice to have. They expand pretty big, and because they fold up pretty small, you can really just throw them into your food tote that you take with you when you go camping, and you have it with you every week. So we don't necessarily use this one every week because we camp so often, we kind of get bored of marshmallows. But when people come camping with us, they always want marshmallows. So we've got a pack of these. I like the ones with the wood handle. They just seem to be a little bit better quality than plastic. And because I'm camping, I guess the wood just feels better. But that's something that's worth picking up. Still pretty good shape. You see I've burned the ends, not melted, doing pretty well. And to finish up the food portion at number 6, I have this MSR Alpine dish brush. This thing is actually pretty cool. These brushes are really, really firm on the end, so they're basically like a little scrubber, and you can use it to scrub your camping stuff. But on the side, it also has a really nice sharp edge, and it works really well as a scraper. So we use this to scrape up our pans and stuff when we're done. You got about a 90-degree here and 45-degree angle here, and you can really get into the corners and scrape everything out. So this is about $10. This is something that we use quite a bit, and we bought this about 4 years ago, and it's still in really good shape. MSR has always made good stuff. You're gonna pay a little bit more, but it's still under $10. and it's a high quality plastic. Little rubber where you can hold it right here so it doesn't slip out of your hands, but this is something that ends up being very useful, and it's small. We have a cook set, and we just keep this in the cook set so we don't lose it. This is something that's worth picking up for the 2025 camping season. And number 7 on my list is a 10-pack of these cheap carabiners. These aren't going to hold you, so you're not going to be rock climbing with them, but we actually have found little useful ways of just using them around the campsite, especially to hang some stuff on ropes, like to dry, and we kind of have them hanging in our tent to hang random things on. Campsites can be dirty, so getting stuff off the ground, they're not going to hold you or save your life or anything. It even says not for climbing, so remember that. If you have a string with a whole bunch of these, you can hang everything, so they're pretty useful. You could pick up 10 of them for $8. So number 8 on my list is some heavy duty tent stakes. These are made of plastic, and they have a spiral edge where you can screw them into the ground. You can get about 8 of these for $9. So it's a pretty good deal, especially if you just want to have extra super strong tent stakes around. And they have nice hooks on the end when you're putting up your tent. These work really well on the ground, and you screw them in and they're not going anywhere. You can use them on canopies, like over your picnic table. This is what we like to use these stakes for, because you can screw them in pretty tight, and those are a little bit bigger, and sometimes the wind will blow those around and they have a lot of strings on them. So that's what we use these for. Nice bright orange, you'll be able to see them during the day. They don't glow in the dark. So number 9 on my list is these ultralight Coghlans tent stakes. These are also orange. These weigh quite a bit less than these. Made of aluminum. These are made in China, so they're also imported. The nice thing about these is they're a little bit longer than your average tent stake that comes with your tent. So we have an MSR tent, and they come to about here. So they're about an extra 2 inches on these tent stakes. But you can buy these for about $1.75, and you could get a whole bunch of these. I've got probably 5 or 6. We use these ones on the tent, and because they can go at an angle in quite a bit longer, they're quite a bit stronger than some of the original tent stakes that we've used. So these are another good upgrade for your 2025 year. Just some light, high quality tent stakes. So the last thing on my list, maybe as I'm getting older, I'm learning to like a lot more, is a portable fan. And the thing that I like about these fans is they are run by USB power. So if you have a power brick, you can just put this in your tent. You don't need power, you don't need cords running in, and it'll run basically as long as your power brick will last. And we actually have 2 fans. We have a larger fan. This smaller fan comes in at about $10. There's no batteries in it, so you have to be plugged in. You can also plug it into power or a laptop. So even if you're just using this at home, you know, when you're working, it's pretty quiet, and you'll give you a nice little breeze. So sometimes when you're at a campground, especially the summer, it just gets hot, and you don't need a lot of breeze, especially if you're inside of a tent when you're sleeping at night. If you just put this by your face, it's not going to give you the noise. I know some people like the noise when they sleep. It's not going to give you all of that to help you sleep, but it helps move the air, and we find these to be very useful. So this is the smaller version. I have a video about the larger versions too. This is a nice $10 fan with the USB plug-in that makes it very easy to travel around. So the first thing on my list is actually something that someone else had at a campground. Fixes a problem that I kind of always had, but I didn't really know was a problem. It's how to carry wood from your car to your campsite. So if you're doing any sort of campground where you have to walk a little bit to your campsite and you got to carry your wood, usually they just wrap it in plastic and they're kind of hard to carry. So I picked up these wood carrying canvas bags, and these have been worth every penny. So for about 15 to 17 bucks, you can get one of these. These are 3 years old now. They've had a lot of use, and these things are absolutely a must-have now when we go camping. So much that we actually have 2 of them. We even use it when I'm carrying wood just to go get ready to split. They do have little locks on the top, but you can put a whole bunch of wood into the bag and you can carry it without getting splinters, without hurting your hand. My wife and I both have one now, and we use this on every trip. I think these are about 17 bucks today as I'm filming this, but these are absolute must-haves for us now. So number 2 on my list is a favorite way to start a fire. I know I've talked about this in other videos, but it's Fatwood. And this is the middle of the pine tree, so it has all the oils on it, and it just goes right up when you light it. You can buy a whole box of this stuff for 20 bucks online. online, and that's what I did, and had it shipped to me, and it's 10 pounds. Last summer we went through basically one box, so for 20 bucks or so you could have all your fires started for the whole summer. And we went camping almost every weekend, so we went through a lot of campfire wood. This is my box for the 2025 season, but you can take basically 3 of these and you can start a fire, and these will burn for about 10 minutes and create a pretty good flame. So we have found that Fatwood is our best and fastest way to start a fire. You can put some pretty decent sized logs on top of this. You'll put 3 or 4 of these down, you'll light it up, they'll burn for about 10 minutes. They will smoke a little bit right away, but then once the smoke is gone, you are all set and you have your fire. So now let's move on to number 3 of my list of camping items that are under 20 bucks. I like the buy it for life items, and this is an item that I purchased in 2011, and thanks to Amazon you can see your old receipts, so I've had this for a long time. This is a 10¼ inch Lod Cast Iron Pan. We bring this on all of our family trips. You can use this on the fire, you can use this on your gas stove. It is super versatile, and as you can see it is well used, so it's got a pretty good seasoning on it, and it is in great shape. And it's made in the United States, so that's pretty cool. But this is something that we use car camping, even on some of our kayak camping trips. When we go across the lake, we'll throw it in the kayak, but these are not light. But the best part about this pan is it doesn't just have to be a camping utensil, so you're not wasting any money with it sitting around. We use this even during the normal week when we're cooking dinner. You can cook anything on here on your gas range or electric range if you're real careful. This is more than just camping gear, but this is something that I think everybody should have. And it's not even that hard to cook on. I know some people say it can be a little tough, but for 17 bucks they can come pre-seasoned now, and it's worth every penny. So this is something that is definitely used on all of our trips. So number 4 on my list is another Lodge accessory. If you have the cast iron Dutch oven, which does cost more than 20 bucks, and you have one of those, getting the lid off of it can be hot when you're camping. So we picked up one of these Dutch oven lid lifters for about $16, and this is actually very useful. And it's pretty light, so this doesn't take up too much room, but you can just clip the top of the lid and you can pick it up, and that way you can take the lid off and you don't have to worry about it falling or getting hot, even just to see a little bit of what's cooking. So this is something that's just useful to have, one of those gadgets that you can live without, but once you have one, you will use it. So now that we've talked about starting a fire and cooking some food, let's talk about some of the utensils that you need when you're eating on a camping trip, because we all know that when you go camping, you're going to end up eating. When you start spending a little bit more money, you can get into nicer plates and spoons and forks, and you can get away from the plastic. The Snow Peak titanium plate, and this is the first titanium plate that I'd owned, and I didn't realize how light titanium was. When you actually hold it, you realize that 2 ounces is really not a lot of weight. So I do have 2 of them, and even with both of them together, these are super light. So I don't have a lot of light camping gear, but we're kind of somewhat getting a little bit more because we found that buying light or smaller is cheaper than buying a new car. And so we have 2 of these plates, but these cost you about 19 bucks a piece. So these add up a little bit quicker. I've had these for 2 years now, so they're still in really good shape. They will get really hot. One thing that we like about these plates is they're about the same size as our GSI polypropylene plates. So they stack up pretty well, and they're about the same weight, but these are plastic and these are titanium. So they're a little bit more rugged than these. Like I said, you're gonna pay a little bit more for these. So number 6 on my list is actually back to GSI, and these are their spoons, forks, and knives, and this comes in a set of 3. So we have a fork, a spoon, and, well, a knife right here. I have 2 sets of these, and these are stainless steel. We have been slowly upgrading a lot of our stuff to stainless steel just because we go camping a lot, and sometimes when you get home, you're tired and you don't clean it right away, and we don't want our stuff to rust, and you could just throw it in the dishwasher and it's easy to clean. So this is a stainless steel set that cost about 18 bucks. So we bought this probably 2 or 3 years ago also when we started converting all of our stuff. So they're not as light as the titanium, but they are stainless steel and they're easy to clean and they're not gonna rust, and these have held up really well. These are solid too, so they don't even bend when we use them. So we have 2 sets of these. So if you're looking for a stainless steel set, I think these work really well, and they're priced pretty well, under 20 bucks. When you are camping, you're gonna have to wash dishes, and we do a lot of campgrounds, but we also do a lot of kayak camping. We have been bringing this wilderness wash that is biodegradable, and it's very concentrated, so you don't have to use a lot of this to wash your dishes. We still keep it out of the lakes. We don't want to put it in the water. It's part of the Leave No Trace program, and it works really well. It's biodegradable, pH neutral, all purpose, and has low suds, which we have found that there's not a lot of suds with it. It says you can use it for body wash and shampoo. We only ever use it to wash our dishes. And if you buy a 2-pack, a 2-pack is about 18 bucks. So we bought this last summer, and so in one summer we did almost go through 1 full container, and so this summer I still have a whole bottle of soap left. So because this is concentrated, this 250 milliliters of soap will last, at least for us, the whole summer. And like I said, we camp a lot. My wife likes to wash the dishes when we're camping. So this is a good product. Try to keep it away from the water. Don't put it into the lakes and streams. We're trying to keep all of our lakes and streams clean for the future. So now that you've done all your dishes, you need to go hang them up so they can dry. One thing we've found to be helpful is this campsite storage strap. A clothesline, but it has little loops on it where you can hang carabiners. And when you're done washing your stuff and you need to hang a towel, you can take your towel, put it on the loop, and it'll stay there. But you can also hang your spoons and forks, and then it just keeps all of your stuff in one spot. And like I said, I like the stainless steel, so at the campground they're not gonna rust if they don't get washed right away. But we hang like pots and pans. So other stuff you can hang is like a spatula. You put it on your carabiner and it'll hang right here. Keeps everything off the ground, lets it dry out in the sun. These are pretty useful. This is about 18 bucks, and it does come with some little carabiners, and we've added a lot of our own carabiners. This is like a 10-pack for 9 bucks, a little cheap set of carabiners. So now that everything is cleaned up, we need to go relax and get ready for the evening. One thing we bring on every camping trip is a hammock. We have some that are more expensive, but this is our cheaper version. This is about 15 bucks on Amazon, so it's not too bad, and we bought this last year and it's still in great shape. This is a Kutech nylon hammock. I think that's how you pronounce it. Not exactly sure. I just randomly found this last summer when I was looking for some cheap hammocks, and I didn't exactly know how well they would work, but this has lasted all of last summer, and it does come with a carabiner which is tied to the hammock so it doesn't come off, so you don't lose it. One time we did try to untie it because we weren't exactly sure what we were doing. It has a nice little locking, and it's still working after a year, nice and strong. It does not twist on the end, but that's never a problem because it's just hanging between 2 trees. It's different pieces that are sewed together with 3 strands of thread down the middle, and it's held up pretty well. I don't see any spots where it's coming apart. We don't have any rips, and I have 2 of them, and both of them are working. So if you're just looking for a fairly cheap hammock, I think something like this works. One thing it will do is it'll hold water when it rains, and so we have other hammocks that are more of a mesh material, which we really like. And when it rains, you don't have to take them down. So if rain's coming, you kind of want to take this down or it will just become a pool of water. So it takes a little bit longer to dry out. So that's one of the problems that we kind of deal with. But if you take it down before a rainstorm comes, you won't have any trouble. So this hammock is about 9 feet long. So like I said, I don't have any trouble laying in it, and it weighs about 1.8 pounds when it is all wrapped up. It does have a nylon sack that is connected to the hammock, which we really like. And so when you're putting it away, you just stuff it all in here, and you don't have to lose the sack to hold it. And real quickly, it fits right in here. It comes with straps that fit in here, and everything fits into this nice little bag. So this is worth it. 15 bucks. We have picked up a couple of these hammocks, and we take them on all our trips. They fit in the side of the door, so they don't take up much room in the car. So now let's move on to the next thing. Now that we've had a fire, made some food, cleaned our dishes, relaxed in the hammock, it's time for bed. And when it's dark, I find that these glow-in-the-dark stakes are actually very useful. You can buy a 10-pack of these for about 18 bucks online, and the tops of them glow in the dark. I've had these for probably about 10 years now, So this one's actually broke. I have 2 packs actually, and they're still glowing in the dark. So these have been pretty cool, and you kind of forget about them, and you walk around at night and you see little glowing orbs in the ground. You're like, oh yeah, there's a stake there, which means there's a rope. So something to just keep you a little bit safer at night. And as you can see, these are 10.5 inches, and they're basically nails. Like some of the other stuff, this is not going to be the lightest at this price range. However, you're going to get a solid steel tent peg with a glow-in-the-dark end on it. So the first thing on my list, which I was just sitting in, are some camp chairs. And we use these Sportneer camp chairs. They're basically a cheaper version of other brands that are out there, but we've had great success with them. I've had these for 5 years now, and this is the original version that I purchased in 2020. And now they have an upgraded version that I've recently purchased, and so far I really like it. So I know how well these have worked, and so I expect the new one to work just as well, if even better. One thing that the new one has is a little bit wider base, so it doesn't tip back as much as these. But what we really like about these chairs is they fit into these nice carrying cases, and we just throw these in our trunk, and we use them for camping, but we also use them for kids' soccer games, picnics, football games. We use these for a lot, so I feel like I've gotten my money's worth out of these. So they're really handy to have. These ones do have a cup holder on the newer version, which is sometimes can be useful. I don't use it too much, but it holds a lot of weight, and I'm 6'3", and I feel pretty comfortable in them. They kind of have a relaxing set to them, so you're sitting fairly low to the ground. So if you have really bad knees, I guess it might be a little tough to get in and out of, and it takes about 30 seconds to set these up. So if you're just looking for a basic camping chair, because you can never have enough chairs when you're camping, picnic tables can be hard to sit on after a while, and if you're sitting around a campfire, you have to move chairs around. These are light, these are easy to set up, and they have a lot of uses outside of camping. Now that we've looked at our chairs, let's go on to number 2 on my list. And number 2 on my list is this Coleman table. Let me show you real quick how easy this is to put together. This is something that we thought about buying, and then we finally ended up buying it in 2020, and it still is in good shape. It's aluminum, so it hasn't rusted, and we've been able to keep it from breaking. But we'll put it together. And one nice thing about having a table is that when you're camping, sometimes you only get one picnic table. So we decided after a while to just buy a portable table, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to go with. And then I found this one, and it has exceeded all my expectations. I kind of used to spend a little bit more time to put it together, but my engineering brother just was like, flip it over like this, and you can put all the pieces in. So I'll just put it in like this and show you how quick it is to have an extra table. We usually put our cooking stuff on this table, and then it's got little holes right there, and you pop it right in. But this is the table that will have our camp stove and the stuff when we're getting ready to eat. But as you can see, it's that quick to put together. Pops in, and then you flip it over, and you have a nice little table to bring with you on your camping trip. Doesn't take up much room, and just gives you a little bit more tabletop space. Like I said, it's aluminum, so it hasn't rusted. There's a few of these little pieces on the end that have come out. We've lost some of those, but that doesn't affect it at all. And this is something that we use on all of our trips. It is starting to get hot out here, so let me show you one of the USB fans that we bring with us on our trips. Yes, shade is nice, but having a USB fan is also very handy. This is something that we picked up a few years ago. In a couple of videos back, I talked about a $10 fan that's pretty small, and this one is definitely a little bit larger, and it's just a fan that runs off a standard battery bank, so you don't need to pay extra for power at a campsite. If you're just sitting at a picnic table, having a little fan is nice. We use it in our tent at night because it just moves the air around a little bit, and with one of these blocks we actually have 2 fans hooked up, this and the smaller one, and it moves enough fan around that it just feels comfortable when you're sleeping. And this little battery pack right here will run this all night long. And then if you really want to get excessive, I have a really cool larger Anchor one, but this costs about 120 bucks, so I'm not going to put that in this video. I have videos about it, but that's really cool, and that'll run these for a couple days really if you're just using them at night. But it doesn't use a lot of power. This one is a brushless motor, but it's a portable rechargeable fan. Some of them don't have batteries. I don't necessarily think you need the batteries, because if you're just going to use this anyways, the batteries lasted maybe till midnight, and then the rest of the night I'd had to use this anyway. So I like having a portable power bank with a portable USB fan. Because they're USB powered, you can use them in the car. You can hook it up to your laptop if you're just at work and you want a little bit of wind that's going to cool you off. These aren't too loud at all. So there's a lot of little uses for these USB powered fans. But now let's go talk about some of the stuff that we cook with. Number 4 on my list is a nice compact cooking set. This is the GSI Outdoors Glacier stainless camper. We really like this set. We had another set beforehand and we just upgraded to the stainless steel version, because we've kind of been changing everything to stainless steel. For partly is because you don't clean stuff as fast when you get home, and it's going to stop the rusting. Also, there's no PFASs in stainless steel. So let's go through what this set has for you real quick. There is a skillet right here that has a nice heavy bottom when you're cooking, and so that's been really nice. You can tell that this thing is heavy in quality. It comes with 4 polypropylene plates, which are food safe, so they're BPA free. So that's also one of the reasons we upgraded, because we just wanted to make sure that everything is a little bit safer, because we do use our sets basically every weekend. So there's 4 plates and they're color coded, which is nice. They also come with 4 cups that are color coded, and the cups have a lid on them, so if you're drinking hot stuff or you don't want it to spill. And also it comes with 4 bowls, which are basically the same size but a little bit bigger as the cup, so you could put some soup in here and some drinks in here. There is a foam piece around the cups, which is really nice, so if it is hot, but they fit right in here. And then all of this fits into the set that we have right here. So you've got the 4 bowls and cups, and we'll take that out, and then you have a smaller 2-liter pan. It has the nice connector that you just hold it right here, and it's pretty sturdy, so it's not gonna come out. It works really well. We have been using this a little bit, and it comes with an even bigger pot. And I think it's really nice to have 2 pots, because sometimes you don't really think you might need 2 pots, but I have a 2-burner stove, and so having 2 pots is nice. I do have 2 handles because I had the other set that used the same handle, so I kept the handle. One of our favorite parts of the cook set is that it has a lid that has strainer holes on it. We cook a lot of macaroni and cheese and a lot of pastas on our trips, and when you cook your pasta and you want to just pour out the water, the strainer lid is very helpful for that. So this is probably one of our favorite parts of this cook set. And also it has a nice carrying case that can hold water. You can wash dishes in it. They say I've never really done that, but you know, if you're really out there, you need it to hold some water, and you can wash all of your dishes in it, but it works pretty well. So that's the cooking set that we use. So I do highly recommend this, because we've had really good luck using this camping set before. Like I said, we upgraded to the stainless steel version this year, and I expect it to work just as well as the other set that I have for 5 years. And it was still in good shape. We were just getting away from the PFASs. I know they use a new coating now, so the set that we have, they don't sell anymore, but we went with stainless steel. Number 5 is another stainless steel set. I'm going to show you this real quick. This is just a pot and pan set, so if you don't really want all the cups and plates and all the other stuff that comes with it, this is a great set that I got about 10 years ago now from my dad. And it's just stainless steel bowls, and there's a whole bunch of them in here. So you got 3 different sizes, and then 1 giant big one, which is a nice little stock pot that you can use for boiling water, pastas, a lot of different things when you're camping. And just like the other one, it comes with a handle. It slides in there for the skillet that it comes with. As you can see, we've used this a lot. We have used this on the fire and on the gas stove. So this is one that we use a lot. We kind of bring this when we're car camping, because this one is not as light as the other one. It's definitely heavier. I mean, this is pretty much kitchen grade stuff that you're going to bring along. But it's a nice stainless steel set. It has a lid with different sizes, so it fits all of the different pots that are in here. But just like the other one, it does fold up in here. It just kind of is a lot bigger, but it doesn't have the plates and spoons. But if you just want something, if you're going to go camping and you cook a lot, this is one that's really helpful. But it does fold up pretty well. It all goes in there. The lid goes on there. And then You're right back where you started. It has handles on the side, so this is a nice set. It's definitely bigger and heavier than the GSI one. So if you want a set that has the plates and bowls and cups, the GSI one is better. But this is a nice addition to that, just to give you more cooking options if you like the stainless steel variety. So now let's check out the portable utensil set that we bring with us on our camping trips. Number 6 on my list is the GSI Destination Utility Set, and this is something that is really helpful. What we've started to do is buy things that keep everything sorted for us, because it gets a little bit hard after a while to just lose things. But this was a cook set that we purchased 3 or 4 years ago. I made a video last year about my most used items, and this was in that video because we use this every single trip. We make sure that we bring this. And so we have added some GSI stainless steel knife set to it. So those don't come with it, but it comes with this plastic spoon, knife, and fork set. As you can see, we've lost a few. We use this so much that sometimes stuff gets lost. But it comes with a cutting board. One side is chicken and one side is vegetables. That's really nice to have. I have a wife that pays attention to food safety, so that's something that she really likes. That was just kind of built in as something that we didn't really know was on there until we bought it. Just something to think about. It comes with a little spice jar. And one cool thing about this is you can hold 3 different types of spices in here. So we have pepper and salt, 2 on this one. And then it opens up and there's 2 more on the bottom. So then we have paprika and garlic, I believe. So just this little set right here holds 4 different spices. So that's really convenient and handy to have. Probably need to rinse that out and spend a little bit. But it comes with little pouches. We haven't honestly used these pouches, but you could put mayonnaise or ketchup or things in here that you just want to bring with you and you don't want to bring the whole pack. You could throw these in the cooler. They have little squeeze tops and they have a screwable lid on the top. Comes with a little blue scrubby, which I can't find right now because we've probably used it quite a bit. It does have a little drying towel too, which is nice. Just kind of folds up in there. And on the other side, we get to the utensils. It has a nice knife that we use, still very sharp, has a nice lid, but it stays right here and kind of by itself so it can stay safe. It has a spatula, folds up. It also has a scoop spatula, don't know where that one is either, and a cheese grater, which you would think is kind of random, but we've actually used this quite a bit and it works really well. It's really sharp. We make a lot of tacos when we go camping, and this cheese grater is very handy. So this is the part of it that I was probably thinking, oh, I wouldn't use that much, but we use the cheese grater a lot more than I thought we would. And the last part is a whisk, and we actually use the whisk too because we have eggs a lot in the morning and you can make pretty good scrambled eggs with it. It opens and closes, kind of fits in there. So it's got a lot of little neat things that you can just always have with you when you are camping. One of my favorite things that this did not come with it is this long silicone spoon. This is also by GSI Outdoors. I can't find this on Amazon. I wish they sold it on Amazon. I got this from Cabela's, which I believe is now Bass Pro Shops in our area. But this is an awesome little spoon if you could find it. REI might have it too, or some other camping stores. This is probably one of my favorite spoons that I actually have because it's nice and long and it's silicone, but we just keep that in there. Now let's go look at a large Dutch oven. In this $100 price range, we're getting into the larger Lod Cast Iron Dutch ovens, and we use this 9-quart Dutch oven, and we take this on a lot of our camping trips. And some of the things I really like about this Dutch oven is that it has a handle, but the lid also has these little rivets on the bottom so that when you're cooking something and the moisture and water go up onto the lid, it'll collect, instead of going down the side, it'll collect on these little rivets and drop it back down on the food that you're cooking. One thing that we really like to make is baked beans on our camping trip because you can just make them, set them in the fire, and let them cook all day long. They kind of cook really slow, but having these little rivets on the top helps the moisture from the food that you were cooking drop back down on the beans so that they don't dry out. So this is one of our favorite things to cook with. We usually use this on our car camping trips because this is very heavy, so it's not something that we bring when we're kayak camping. For car camping trips and having a lot of people, it's a lot of fun. We've made things like nachos, peach cobbler, we've made baked beans like I've said, and because it's cast iron, it can go directly on the fire. So if you just have a camping grate, you can set it down. Some of them have feet on the bottom, and then you can put some charcoal briquettes under it and then just cook it that way. They do take a little bit of maintenance. They come pre-seasoned now, but we cook ours so hot sometimes that, as you can see, it's kind of tore up on the inside. So I probably need to re-season this for this upcoming summer. There's a little bit of rust in there, so you have to make sure that you wash it right away, because if you don't clean it, you get a little bit of rust, which is why we like all the stainless steel that we use, because it's not going to rust. We can come home and throw it in the dishwasher. You're not supposed to throw these in the dishwasher, but some people do, and that'll start a whole conversation on how you maintain these things. And this is made in the United States and Tennessee, so hopefully it won't be affected by tariffs, so it doesn't go up too much. And number 8 is a camping oven. This thing is a lot of fun. We purchased this at the beginning of last summer, and I have beat the tar out of this. This is another stainless steel item. This is from Modern Innovations. I chose this one because at the time it was a little bit cheaper than the Coleman one, but sometimes they're the same price, people have said. It does have a window, which I do like. It has a little thermometer up here. It's not the most accurate thing, but we've made everything in this camp oven. Pies, breakfast items, we've made cupcakes, we've made brownies, we've made a whole lot of different types of food. And it's just a lot of fun to have. This is one of those things that when you have, you're just like, oh, what can I try making in it? So this summer I am buying random items to try to cook them in this oven. But as you can see, I've really beat it up. But it's got a little bit of rust maybe right there and this right here, but it's still in pretty good shape. It folds down pretty small, as you can see right here. So it fits into the car, pretty simple, not a big problem. On the inside right here, we have a grate. I haven't pushed it all tight right now, but when you put it all together, the grate will stay right up there when you're pushing. It has warped a little bit. Something to keep in mind, there is the Coleman version, but you can't see in it, but maybe that one won't warp as much. But I've been very pleased with it. This might last me 2 or 3 years. I don't think this is gonna be a buy at once and last forever. So maybe the Coleman one will be, but we bring this on all of our trips. It's in my video that I've made of my most used gear, and obviously this is used all the time. If you do a lot of car camping, so you have extra space and you wanna bring extra food or try different things, that's what we like to do with this. So it's like, oh, what can we try this week? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I've made homemade bread in the hot tent with it. And so a lot of different things. So that's a camp oven, pretty fun to have, and let's check out my next item. And number 9 on my list is another one of these items that I picked up that's become a lot more handy than I thought it would be when I first got it. This is a Drymat tent carpet mat, and we picked this up for our hot tent. This one is about 7.5 by 4.5 feet, and this was $83. And they have a smaller version that's about $40, so if you don't need one this big. But one of the benefits of this is that you can cut it to be the exact size of your tent. We mostly use this in our hot tent because it stops moisture from coming up from the bottom, but you can put it in your tent, and when you cut it to size, it'll protect the bottom from getting rips and holes. It's also really nice if you're gonna use cots in your tent, because when you put the cot down, this will really protect it from ripping when you put it inside the tent. And like I said, you could put it underneath the tent and have it outside, because it's really easy to wash. You just spray it down with the hose, so it's not a big deal if it gets dirty. But the waterproof bottom will keep water from getting in through the bottom of the tent. And it is made in the United States of America. Not exactly sure where, but hopefully that means it'll be tariff-free if any of that stuff takes over. We purchased this 2 years ago, so this has gone through 2 winters in the hot tent, and it's still in great shape. There's a few little spots where coals have landed on it and melted a little bit. The bottom is this waterproof rubber, and the top is this really dense polyester. Like I said, it feels like the back of a trunk, so it's pretty comfortable, even if you're just gonna sit on it and use it for something like a picnic blanket for a day. The things I like about this is after a few years, it's still very durable. It's trimmable to any size you need, and it stops moisture from coming up into your tent, and it makes your tent just a little bit more cozy on the inside. Now let's go to my last thing, which is a sleep mat. And last but not least is my Therma-a-Rest Pro Light. I'm about 6'3", and I think this is the large version, so it's definitely tall enough for me to lay on when I sleep. But one thing we really like about these is they have an R value of about 3.2, which means it is pretty good for a 3-season sleeping mat. We use this when we go hot tent camping, but we have this on a cot, and so that does add a little bit of cushion. And one way that it adds a little bit of cushion is that it has foam on the inside. So it's self-inflating they say. I still have to blow it up every time. So it has a nice little nozzle right here, and you can let the air in and out. You twist it a little bit, you blow in some air, and you twist it to close it. Works pretty well, pretty simple, pretty basic. This one we've had for 8 or 9 years now, and so this is still in great quality. This is about $83 right now when I'm filming this. My wife also has the women's version, which supposedly has a little bit more of the foam around the hip area. But one thing the foam does do is add some softness when you're sleeping. And as you can see, it's maybe about 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 of an inch of thickness in here, and you can tell the difference when you're using it. So it is pretty comfortable. It's not the thickest mat, but if you're just using this in your tent on some rocky ground, like when we're at a state park, it has that little gravel that you always have to put your tent on, which is not the most comfortable, though this helps with that. It does have little grips on it, which are kind of nice. Still slide around a little bit, but not too bad. But it folds up into these nice little bags, and then we take it with us on our trips. So if you're just looking for a pretty basic mat that's gonna do the job, one more thing as I'm putting this away, the bag is pretty tight around the mat, but if you twist the air out when you're twisting it and you get it pretty small, you can slide it in the bag. It's not too big of a deal. This is a giant hammock made by Trillium. This is my favorite thing I think I've ever purchased. As you can see, it's a massive hammock, about 10 feet by 10 feet by 10 feet. And when it's hanging between 3 trees with these giant ratchet straps, it's absolutely the coolest thing that you'll see at a campground. We always have a bunch of people that'll come by and hang out with us by the end of the week once we have this up. And so it's the coolest thing I have. This runs about $500, so we're starting way at the top right here. It has little baskets on each of the corners, basically a seat belt that goes through the middle and around the side. So it holds plenty of weight. We've never felt like we were anywhere close to it not being safe. I know there's some other brands online, and when we were looking, we're like, let's just get the original one. You don't want to have any issues of something like this not being safe, and we haven't had any problems. So obviously we take our shoes off, we don't want it to rip, but I bought this in 2020, so we're going on our 5th summer now, and it's absolutely held up. And if this broke, I would buy another one in an instant. But it is absolutely amazing. There's a ladder that you get in the middle to climb in to get to it. We've put it well over our head multiple times, so it's kind of fun to see how high you can get. Come up through the middle, and you can have 2 people on each side, and we sleep on this in the summer. It's absolutely the most comfortable thing I've slept on. You can get it nice and tight, and it lays flat, and there's these straps in the middle so you don't roll on to other people. If you have 3 people, adults sleeping on here, you will all fit. I think it's up to 6 adults if you put 2 adults into each of the little triangles that will hold around the side. But this was definitely a want, not a need. So this is something that we kind of purchased because we thought it would be fun to add something new a few years ago. And it has been worth every penny. So if you're looking for something that's kind of above and beyond, really just cool, to be honest, this is the coolest thing I have ever found. We couldn't make it really work. But usually if there's enough trees, if you're in a forest, you can make it work. And because you can go so high, and it takes a little bit of a learning curve to figure out how to get it exactly right. Sometimes we have it a little wonky, but we haven't had any problems finding trees at campsites that fit. I think only one campground you can get above little trees. You don't have to have a flat ground. I know I've already said it, but this is the coolest thing I own. So now let's go look at number 2 on some of our more expensive gear. And number 2, coming in at $300 and 2.8 pounds, is the Helinox ultralight cot. This cot is awesome. It weighs almost nothing. The wind will basically take it away. So you're not carrying any extra weight really with this cot. And I'm 6'3", and as you can see, it's about as tall as I am. So it's really useful for us. One of those purchases that we made because it's cheaper to buy this than to buy a new car. We mostly use the camping cots when we're doing hot tent camping in the winter, and the hot tent and the stove take up a lot of room. So we wanted cots so we're up off the ground. And so we purchased these because they're really packed small. So they're not gonna take up as much room as in the car because we have a lot of gear with us. But one thing that is nice is the bottoms of these are flat. So if you do put them in a tent, I don't think that it will rip the bottom up too much. Setup is pretty easy. You have some really tight tension rods right here, and they go in, and then there's one pole and you slide it all the way through the side. And as you can see, it's very taut and tight. So when you're sleeping on it, it's pretty firm. So if you're a person who really likes it soft, I put a Therma-a-Rest pad on top of it, which makes it absolutely wonderful to sleep on. So I still prefer to sleep on the Tentsile, but in the winter when we're hot tent camping, I can't use that. So I'm using this. If you're looking for a cot that's really light, but it's also going to cost you a pretty penny. So now let's move on to the next one. And number 3, coming in at about $150, is our camp stove. If you're going camping, you have to have a camp stove. And we have a 2-burner CampChef. This is an older version, the Everest. They now have a new version. So that's what I'll have to link to. So I assume it's probably even better than this one, and we've been using this one for a long time. But things I really like about this is that it is a propane stove. We've had it, I believe, since about 2016. And one thing that I didn't realize when I bought it, but I absolutely love, is that it has a self-lighter. So you turn on the gas, press the lighter, and it still works on both sides, and you have flames. So having a self-lighting stove is nice because sometimes your lighters just don't work. Has a nice big grate. 2 burners is really nice to have because you can be boiling water and then cooking something else on the other. Or if you have a flat griddle and you lay it on top, then you could basically have a flat top, which we do that a lot when we go camping to make burgers. It's not the smallest stove out there, but it's definitely worth having. And the CampChef was a little bit newer, at least new to me when I first bought this. It was this or the Coleman, and I've been really impressed with how well this one has worked for us. So now let's go look at a compact 1-burner stove. And number 4, coming in at about $200, is the MSR Dragon Fly Stove. Like I said, you're going to get more name brands, MSR, Helinox, things that have higher quality to them with these higher prices. I purchased this stove in 2011. So we're going into the summer of 2025 right now, and this thing still works like a champ. So you know when you're buying, especially brands like this, that it's going to be something that hopefully is a buy it for life. And this is just one single stove. It works really well for boiling water. You do have to purchase a bottle separately, so that's a little bit of an extra purchase. But this thing, we take it on our kayaking trips when we go camping across lakes. Because you can boil water on it, it's great for making macaroni and cheeses. We've used it to make meals, a lot of different things. It lights up really well. One thing about it is that it's really loud. So when you're using it, you can hear it for quite a ways away. If you're the first one up in the morning, you're going to wake everybody up if you're making yourself some coffee or hot chocolate. There's really no moving pieces. You just put some fuel on the inside and it's going to use pressure from the fuel from here. So you don't have to bring canisters of propane or anything else. And if you have like a Coleman lantern, it's the same white fuel, white gas that I use in the Coleman lantern. And so I can bring a couple of these, throw them in the kayak. Like I said, without any moving pieces, I haven't had anything to break. There's the pump right here that you're gonna put in, which isn't too bad. I made a whole video that I'll link to that shows you how to light this. And it's pretty simple. But even after all these years just using white gas, I haven't had any problems. The cool thing about the Whisper Light International that I have is you can change out the little nozzle on the inside and use different types of fuel. Some will burn dirtier than others. I've only used the white gas and it's all still really clean. You can even look at my filter after almost 15 years. Pretty much clean. There's some, maybe just some dirt and stuff on there, but I haven't had any real issues. And so this is the MSR Dragonfly. If you're looking for just a small, convenient travel stove, this is great. It fits into this little bag. So if you're looking for a small stove, check this out. So now let's go to number 5. Coming in at $180 is this Granfors Bruks Wildlife Hatchet. These are handmade in Sweden, and what's really cool is when you look at the hatchet, you can see the initials AS of the person that made it. So that makes these kind of cool. So these are really high quality. I'm not a huge hatchet person, but if you want to be like a hipster person and buy the hipster hatchet, this one is pretty small. It's going to be mostly used to knock off small branches, maybe on a tree, or if I have logs I have to put into my stove in the
hot tent. Comes pretty sharp. You can also get a grinder pad that I have that will grind it down to keep it nice and sharp. I have used the back of it as a hammer a little bit. The steel on the back is not as hard as the steel on the front. It is all recycled steel according to their website, and they are made in Sweden. Like I said, my brother went to Sweden. He said it was a really cool place. I also think this makes a good gift. If you want to spend a decent amount of money and give somebody a hatchet for a gift, I think this would be a great one, because I don't think it's something you might buy right away. We purchased this because each summer we add something new to our camping equipment, and this was our purchase in 2022. So now let's move on to number 6.
Coming in at $200 is a twin size wool Pendleton blanket. This actually can be dual purpose. This was a gift for my wife, and we use it camping, but we also just use it around the house in the winter. It is an extremely nice, warm blanket, high quality. We've had this for a few years now, and it's still in great shape. It's all woven around the edges. Also really cool is that it's made in the USA. So you're supporting United States made products, because you never know how that's gonna go anymore. So it's a great camping blanket, and it's a great throw blanket to have around your house. This probably gets more use around the house than it does camping, because we use this mostly when we're hot tent camping in the winter. So she will throw this underneath of her sleeping bag for a little bit more warmth on the bottom, keep her warm inside of the hot tent. And I know you can't talk about expensive camping equipment without a Yeti. So I have 2 Yeti products. The first is the 35 cooler. I actually do like it. We like this size because it fits well into the trunk of our car. So we had to get a cooler that fit into the trunk, and I had a Coleman cooler that was just really big, and I ended up not actually needing one that big because it would always be half empty. So we went with a little bit smaller and a little bit nicer cooler. And most of our camping trips are from Friday till Sunday, and this will hold enough ice. But one thing I really do like is that it comes with a dry basket on the inside, and so as ice does start to melt on the bottom, you can keep stuff up here where it will not get all soaking wet. So we usually have like our cheeses for hamburgers or stuff up top that we might use quicker that wants to be cold, but we don't want it to get all wet in the gross melting water on the bottom. Also, another benefit is that they do lock, and so they are expensive, and you can lock it right here so that it becomes theoretically bear proof. There is the certification on the inside over here. You have to get the right locks that are long enough to be able to reach down, but I do think that's kind of handy, especially because we have used this on the back of the kids' boat. So you can put a lock on the side, and then you can chain it to a picnic table or anything, and when that's closed and this is locked, so that someone's not gonna steal your cooler, because I bet people do steal coolers. I haven't really had any issues at any campgrounds of anything ever being stolen. You are gonna pay about $275 for this size 35 cooler, but I think it's a pretty good size. We have 2 adults and 2 kids. You can usually fit everything you need, maybe only a few drinks if we have meats, eggs, cheeses, and hamburger stuff. But it gets us through a nice 2-day camping weekend. Now let's go look at the second Yeti product that I have. At number 8, we have the Yeti Lowlands blanket. So it's another blanket, but it has a nice travel case with a handle and some little side handles, and you could probably put some carabiners on the side and hold some stuff right here if you needed. But this is a blanket that we use camping, and the dog, we don't have a dog, our friend has a dog, and their dog will lay on it. So it works as a nice dog blanket. So we took it this morning to the kids' soccer game and we laid it out, and it worked as a good picnic blanket or just a blanket for sitting on the ground for the soccer game. So as you expect, it's a Yeti, so it's gonna cost a decent amount of money. This was about $200. One side is very soft on the inside, and on the other side you kind of have this rough, I wouldn't say waterproof, but a very strong bottom to it. And when you open it up, it does get nice and large, and you can sit on it. It's very comfortable. It's definitely a nice blanket, especially if the ground is wet. It does stop a little bit of the water from getting to you, but you could hang out, you could lay out, you could use it under the stars. So if you want a soft blanket, more to put on the ground where the bottom won't pick up the grass and everything will get stuck to it. So if you use the Pendleton blanket, it'll just become a mess. You don't want to use that on the ground. That's why it means a lowland to put on the ground and use it as a ground blanket for watching soccer games, when you're not camping, and when you're camping, the dog lays on it, or you just put it on the ground and you can lay on the ground and watch the stars. So I know I've talked about the hot tent, so we're gonna go talk about the hot tent now and the stove that I use to warm it up. And number 9, coming in at about $250, is a hot tent by One Tigress called the Rock Fortress. This is their largest TP style hot tent at the moment, I believe. We purchased this in 2022, or the end of 2022. So this is our 3rd season with it. We purchased this because we wanted to camp in the winter, and we watched a lot of YouTube videos about hot tent camping, and it looked like a lot of fun. We picked this up, and the kids absolutely love it. We have used this in the mountains, and we have used it in our backyard. We keep it set up in the backyard because then the kids every weekend have been out here and we've been camping in it, and so it's been a lot of fun to practice and get to use it. There's an inner right here, which is a mesh part, but that does not come with the tent. I added that extra, but that just kind of keeps the bugs out if maybe you want to use it in the summertime. There's no bottom, so you would have water running through in the summer, but in the winter when it's cold you wouldn't have much of an issue because most of the time it's snowing and it's going on the outside, which we did get to use it in snow this year, so that was a lot of fun. So if you want to try 4-season tenting, a hot tent is the way to go because we've absolutely loved it. And last but not least, coming in at about $360 is our Winterwell Medium View Stove. This is the stove that we use to heat up this hot tent. It works really well. Because it's a medium, it doesn't take up too much room, but one thing I really like is that it has the glass window. I wasn't really sure if I would need it or not, but one thing that I find that it almost makes it safer because I have 2 kids that are hot tent camping with me, and when you have a fire going, it does create a little bit of light coming out the side. So number 1, they can see it, but number 2, it does let them know where the fire is so that they don't touch it. And number 3, it does make a nice beautiful light in the tent. Has a nice wood yellow glow to it, which is really, really cool. So this has been absolutely wonderful for us, and this is also on its 3rd year. It's in great shape. It says stainless steel. There is a titanium version that weighs less, but we went with stainless steel. I don't see any rust. It doesn't have any issues with it. The pipes are nice. They get really hot. They've got a little patina right now because they have burned up quite a bit, but this will get nice and orange. Try not to let it get that hot. I have had to learn how to use the damper a little bit. If the wood is dry, it'll burn it really fast and it'll heat the tent up to about 80 degrees easily. So it can be 10 degrees outside, 80 degrees inside. This is kind of a whole setup you would need, the tent and the stove, to go camping like this in the winter. But if you want to try something new, it's a lot of fun. Also, as a bonus tip, these little fans that you can put on top actually work really well for a small tent. They don't seem to blow very far, but if you're just in a tent, we have noticed that if you put it in here and it's blowing to one side of the tent will be a little bit warmer. And because you're sleeping on a cot, you're up higher, it does get a little bit of the warm air on you while you're sleeping or hanging out inside the tent. So not only do we camp out here, but the kids like to just come hang out in the evenings and start a fire because now they're getting old enough where they can light the fire and kind of feel like they're doing a lot when they keep it going, which is a lot of fun for them. So we really like this setup for our hot tent winter camping, but it did add a pretty good cost to get this set up. You get better quality gear the more you spend. That's kind of what I've learned as I've really gotten into camping the last 6 or 7 years, where we just camp all the time. A lot of this stuff hopefully will be a buy once, cry once type deal. Between the MSR, Winterwell, Tentsile, Pendleton, Granfors, Bruks, all those things have really lasted and none of them have broken and had any issues.